I can't think of anything more important than self-learning. If you learn how to learn, you can apply that to anything. People look at work as a negative and create this whole myth around work-life balance because most people hate what they do. How do you create an escape plan? Step one is always accept that you're in pain. They block out the fact that they hate their lives at the end of every day. They block out the fact that something needs to change with either what you're doing, the people you're working with, or how you're working. Then creating the plan is easy once you've accepted and verbally stated out loud. Tell someone else, I am not happy. In school, we're taught that there's only one way to learn, which is BS, right? Everyone learns a different way. You're basically incentivized for your memorization skills. That's only a very, very small piece of the whole learning picture, as we all know, right? Some people listen to learn, others read to learn. Some are terrible at memorization. I have a terrible rote memory. When I was in school, I had to study literally around the clock in order to retain information. If I couldn't attach a meaning to something, I just couldn't remember it. Yeah, I wish I was taught in business school how to learn. If you learn how to learn, you can apply that to anything. They say most people live quiet lives of desperation. I think that's so true, and that's because most people are just doing the wrong thing. They're doing things that don't match their gifts. So how do you go about rolling out a self-learning process for yourself? The first thing is you have to understand your blind spots. When people say statements like, I can do anything, the truth is it's a lie. You can't do anything. I can't become the best seamstress in the world. I am not good with tactile things. I literally can't assemble furniture. And there was a point in my life, because my dad was a contractor. Growing up, I felt extremely insecure that literally I could not follow instruction manuals to build furniture. And I remember I went to school for engineering, and within my first year, I literally got to the end project of my engineering class where I had to build this box thing, and my brain didn't work that way. I literally could not assemble things in the tactile, real life world. When I had changed my major from engineering to business, I felt way more in line with the concepts in business. But I felt okay, I understand business concepts, but here's the problem. My learning style was not memorization. So still, I was ending every week in school feeling anxious and feeling like I wasn't doing the right stuff. I know for sure my top learning style as a person is I learn by doing. I learn by experimenting. Unfortunately, in school, you can't ace tests doing that. Once I started reflecting on this and realizing, okay, well, I got close to straight A's in school. I had 3 years where I was at a 4.0 GPA, and I hated my life. I was filled with anxiety. It was not fun. Right before I graduated business school, this is where I had to use communication skills for the first time. I started taking charge when I was doing these school projects and leading a team. And I would always find a way to have the team do the work, and for me to set a clear direction of what our goals were. After all of these experiments, I go through this learning journey of if I focus on the topics I'm interested in, i.e. business, sales type stuff, that's where I started learning that there's an intersection of three things to make you actually feel completely dialed in. You have to be interested in the stuff you're doing, you have to be talented at it, and you have to embrace your learning style within it. You have to embrace your learning style in school, and then that eventually transitions when you go into the workplace. You have to embrace your working style. Fast forward to when I started my business, I actually really thrived in the beginning year or two of the business when I was just doing sales. And that's because sales involves a lot of unpredictability. I would enter my weeks with a completely blank calendar when I started this company. And I would just cold call and figure out what would happen that week. And I actually loved that. I felt great doing that. Then over the next 4 years, as our company grew really fast, I got really structured. Now, over the last 6 months, I've become unstructured again. And now I'm feeling more dialed in than I've ever felt. So it's this constant steering of the ship of, are you focused on the things that excite you? Are you working in a style that doesn't drain you? And are you talented at the thing that you're doing? Because talent is a minimum requirement. Talent doesn't get the job done. But if you are sure to not succeed at something you're not talented at. And then working style. If you start feeling energized at the end of every single working day, do you realize the multiplying impact that that has on your life? Imagine every single working day, you end your working day and you go, damn it, I can't believe I had to stop working. Now that may sound crazy. Literally 4 out of 5 days a week, I feel that emotion. People look at work as a negative and create this whole myth around work-life balance because most people hate what they do. No, everyone says this bullshit, right? Like, if you love what you do, you don't have to work a day in your life. That's bullshit. I'm not saying you don't have to work a day in your life. If you love something, you must work every day of your life towards it. That's how I look at it. Yes, believe me, I don't work 24/7, 365. At 5:45 p.m., I have dinner reservations with my wife. I am gonna be done working today at probably 5:15. I'm probably gonna spend tomorrow morning until 11 a.m. brainstorming for this event I have coming up next week on content that I'm gonna deliver. I'll probably do something similar on Sunday. I'll brainstorm until like 9 to 10 a.m. And to me, that's what I would have done either way. I would have done that anyway. So I don't look at that as work. Like, yes, it would be classified as work, it just doesn't feel like that. I don't know why people make such a big stink about work-life balance. I've never understood this. I think it comes from a negative relationship to work. And just because everyone else doesn't like what they're doing doesn't mean you have to buy into that. I just think this significantly weighs down our planet. I really do. How do you create an escape plan? Step one is always accept that you're in pain. Because most people block this shit out. They block out the fact that they hate their lives at the end of every day. They block out the fact that something needs to change with either what you're doing, the people you're working with, or how you're working. Then creating the plan is easy once you've accepted and verbally stated out loud. Tell someone else, I am not happy. You have to look yourself in the mirror and understand what part of this am I contributing to and what part of this is my environment contributing to. There were things I was doing when I was in pain that were on me. They weren't on my environment, right? I was choosing to think a certain way. I was choosing to have negative thoughts. I was choosing to accept my fate. And separating those two things, what am I doing to create this? What is my environment doing to create this? Then you create 2 plans. So self-plan is what are the things you're gonna do to fix yourself? And then the next one is the other plan. What's everything you're gonna do to control your environment, everything around you, where you're spending your time? One of the most important decisions I ever made was the friends that I cut off from my life. Some of them great people, but our paths just went in different directions. It's funny how in business, it's probably the top defining moment of culture is who you fire. You can't say, oh, our culture is positive, oh, we're all supportive of each other, and then employ someone who criticizes every person on your team. So culture is made in who you remove from your life. So that's one environmental way. Another environmental way to optimize is what you do in terms of your actual trade, what you spend time on every single day. And then another one is who you bring into your life. So yes, you can remove people, you can change what you're focused on every day, but you then need to introduce positive people to your life, people who think positively. So if you see most of the people I spend time with, they're unusually positive people. I don't surround myself with negative people. You know what's so interesting is when you manage things from a distance, I don't think people respect that. And rightfully so. Love or hate Elon, he is on the floor, on the ground factory floor with his team. Like, yeah, he's got a ton of problems, okay? But you can't say that he manages things from a distance. I think there was a chapter in my quote unquote leadership where I started managing from a distance. That was probably not the best way to manage. At the time, I see why I did it. I wanted to delegate, I wanted to empower others, but you also lose the respect to your team a little bit when you're managing things from a distance. Your team needs to know that you're willing to dive in. I think people don't know what a CEO does all day. The thought is probably different for everyone based on their life experiences. Work, follow-up, and consistency, right? So if I was CEO of a company, and which I am, but if I said, I wish we have this super positive culture, or I want us to have a super positive culture. It's one thing to say that. It's one thing to tell the whole team, hey, we want to be a positive culture. That's not where a culture is created. A culture is created in decisions that you make, hard conversations that you have. An example of this is, again, who you fire. To say we're a no drama culture and then to not address drama is hypocrisy. You're being a hypocrite. That's why these things have to be directly called out and addressed, right? You can't shove anything under the rug. So this requires hard conversations consistently. This requires letting people go consistently. In that process, you ultimately end up with a culture of excellence. I hope I made the point that self-learning is the number one most important thing I know in my life that has allowed me to optimize around happiness, allowed me to increase my levels of success per unit of effort. So where I'm able to put in 1 unit of effort and get 5 more success units back per unit of effort. It's something that if you're not feeling good at the end of your work days, I would suggest you look into. Really important concept to me, and I'll see you in the next one.